All right, so welcome back, everyone, to the second episode of Comics Run the World. I'm your host, Orion Comics, and my co-host is right next to me right here.
Woody, what's up, guys? This is
And
off the
today,
cuff episode
yeah,
here.
little impromptu episode here, but for good reasons. So today, as of today, at the end of this recording, James Gunn released some of his plans for Chapter 1 of the DCU. It's titled Gods and Monsters, so that kind of gives like an insight of like the theme that's going on for this chapter of the DCU. I'm very excited about it. How do you feel about it so far before we get into it?
It's a little bittersweet, I mean, there's a lot of stuff I like in DCU, but I think this was necessary, and I'm for the most part pumped. I got off work, so I'm like, I've only seen the major stuff, like just the titles of a couple of the things. So I think you're going to fill me in on a lot of it, but I'm for the most part, I'm pretty pumped, man.
Yeah, I agree. It is bittersweet. Obviously, a couple months ago when Black Adam was released, it was announced that Henry Cavill was back as Superman, but then like a couple weeks later, he's not back as Superman anymore, and that was very disheartening, especially for me and I assume especially for you as well, since you love Man of Steel so much. It was rough, honestly. It was rough, but
I wore this shirt to the Black Adam movie. I stood up when the post-credit scene happened.
yeah.
I was pumped, but it is what it is
Man.
at this point. It is what
I
it
guess,
is.
yeah. But at least the future of the DCU is in good hands. Everything looks cool. I'm excited to see all the upcoming projects that James Gunn will be releasing over the next couple of years. But with that being said, before we talk about the first chapter of the DCU, James Gunn did go on to say some little things about the upcoming movies this year, like with Shazam, Blue Beetle, The Flash, and Aquaman. So he said James Gunn did say that The Flash is definitely going to reboot the DCU. That's like a fact. And he also added that he loved the movie, like the Flash movie. He thought it was like one of the greatest. So,
We'll see.
especially with all the enormous controversy behind Ezra Miller and the nightmarish production of like the movie, how it went through like 7, 8 directors. It was chaos, and now it's finally coming out. But at least I did hear that if Ezra Miller is committed to rehabilitation, and if they're committed to becoming a better person, then they will continue with Ezra Miller as the Flash for the future of the DCU, depending on how everything goes, and obviously depending on the reception of the Flash movie. Did you want to say something about the Flash movie before we come up? Any like concerns or anything like that?
I was really hoping, once I heard Henry Cavill was for sure out, I thought that the right move would be to just completely reboot it. Like 100% get rid of all the old actors, because like Henry Cavill, he just kind of was the DCU, at least for me. And if you're going to take him out, I still think the right move is just to fully reboot. Like, let the Flash movie happen, and then brand new universe. Everything's gone. But I guess we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's actually something that I will touch upon a little later before I start talking about Chapter 1 of the DCU. But in other news, he said he quickly just went over Blue Beetle, saying like, "Oh, it's great. It's a great character." It's kind of like more of a self-contained story, not necessarily like an Elseworld story, but like it's kind of like Shazam, like the first Shazam movie, how it's like in its own bubble. So he said it was pretty good. It's great. And Aquaman apparently is getting a trilogy, so there is going to be like a Aquaman 3 maybe in the works in the future.
I saw the trilogy thing, but then I saw him say he'll only play one character in the new reboot, but he wants to play Lobo, and I'm like, what? So what is it? What?
I'm not sure, honestly, because as like he has the look for Lobo. Essentially, he looks like Lobo. He acts like Lobo. But then again, casting someone else as Aquaman and just seeing Jason Momoa as Lobo might might just be a little weird. I don't know. There's nothing really confirmed or set in stone with that one, at least. But to go on with the aspect of, recasting everyone and not just leaving, just like recasting one and then keeping the rest. It was said that James Gunn left the door open for Gal Gadot, Zachary Levi, Jason Momoa, and Ezra Miller to come back to their roles if they want to. So it's interesting to like offer something like that, especially with, I'm assuming they're going to recast Batman, obviously. Recasting Superman and just like all these different characters, but keeping those characters the same, and especially like Amanda Waller, which we'll get into later on in the episode. It's kind of odd how they're going to nitpick how some characters are going to stay and some characters are going to be recasted, which I guess I understand because obviously Henry Cavill is much older, and same thing with Ben Affleck. I mean, they can't really be committed to like a 10-year long like chapter one of the DCU. But then again, it just doesn't seem unfair to me. Like, even though like Henry Cavill might come back for like a different role in the DCU or maybe go to the MCU. It's already confirmed that James Gunn is talking to Ben Affleck to see if he wants to work on a project with the DCU. But even then, I guess we'll just have to wait and see about those aspects. Is there anything that you want to touch upon about like just keeping some characters and removing some characters?
Yeah, I mean, same thing I said. I think they should reboot everything. If they're going to cut some actors, I think if you're going to get rid of one, just get rid of them all and just reboot everything. Have a Wally West Flash instead of Barry Allen. Have, a new Clark Kent, a new Batman, because at this point, we'll talk about like we're our most anticipated, but I saw for the Brave and the Bold, like, is it going to be the same Batman just recast, or is this a new Batman? Like, I don't really know what they're doing.
Yeah. Even though like we got all this information, it does make you question more about it. Like, there's more questions that come up with all this stuff being released. But I guess I guess we just have to be patient and just wait and see as time goes on. So DCU Chapter 1: Gods and Monsters. So one of the first things that was announced was Creature Commandos. I've never heard about this group of characters before. This is the first time I'm hearing about it. It's an animated series, and it's being written by James Gunn. And he also mentioned how there are going to be characters in that animated series that will make live action appearances. So I'm assuming whatever actors they're going to have like voice act the characters, they're going to have them reprise the role in whatever live action appearance they'll have. Did you have any input, anything at all with Creature Commandos? Your excitement level or anything like that?
I know less than nothing. The only thing I saw that I know is that the little rat from Suicide Squad is in it.
Oh, really? I didn't see that.
Guy, you know who I'm talking about? I think he's in it. That's all I know.
Okay, that's cool.
I think.
I didn't know this one comic writer did comment on it on Twitter. JMD Mateus. Apparently he created or in some aspect brought basically created it. The Creature Commandos. He said he was very excited and was very unexpected. Unexpected to anyone else because this is the first time I'm hearing it, but not surprised for James Gunn to pick out some of the super lesser known like groups and
That's what I was gonna say. James Gunn, he did it with Guardians, so I trust that he can do it with another lesser known team.
Definitely, and I'm interested how they're gonna translate into like live action and like what aspect will they fit into the grand scheme of things essentially. So next up we have Waller. Basically an Amanda Waller. I think it's HBO Max series. I think it's taking place between season 1 and season 2 of Peacemaker, because she is going to team up and work with Team Peacemaker. and it's being written by Crystal Henry, who I think wrote Watchmen, the live action Watchmen, and Jeremy Carver, who did work on the Doom Patrol TV series. Did you want to touch upon how still Viola Davis is still set in stone as Amanda Waller, yet all these other characters are being kind of recasted, or any other opinions about this show?
Hold on. Okay, I think we're good. It was just like cutting in and out. We're good. What'd you ask?
I was wondering what your opinion is on Waller, and how do you feel about Viola Davis remaining as Amanda Waller in the DCU with all the other characters, almost all the other characters being recast and that type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still not a huge fan of it, but I liked her as Amanda Waller. I mean, most of the I'm saying I'm not a huge fan of it. Most of the characters in the DCU, I liked the casting, so it won't upset me a lot. If these characters stay, but I wish it was a full reboot. But if this is what it's going to be, then I think she's a good Amanda Waller, so I'm not super upset over that.
Yeah, definitely. I think she nails the role, and there are certain aspects where they are, for example, Zachary Levi. I think he was great as Shazam, and I do understand. I love him as Shazam. I thought he embodies the character very well. But then again, having him remain and the other bigger names being recasted does seem unfair. But it's kind of like a conflicting feeling I have it, because I love Zachary Levi. I love him as Shazam. I love Shazam, but at the same time, it kind of does seem unfair. But if he stays, he stays. I'm perfectly fine with that. If he goes, I'm gonna be a little upset, but obviously we gotta move on, open up for other opportunities.
Yeah. I agree. I really like him as Shazam. I really like Jason Momoa as Aquaman. So I think it'll just be kind of weird. There's a new Superman, and they're interacting with him, and it's yeah, but you've already interacted with Superman, and it was a different guy. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of it's a little weird, but I can get past it.
Yeah, definitely. It just takes time, because we just love these characters so much, and we already see whenever I see Jason Momoa in another film or TV show, I always associate him with Aquaman and stuff like that. You just see Aquaman, or some people might associate him as Khal Drogo from Game of Thrones. I associate him with Aquaman, essentially.
Yeah.
So next we got one of the big bombs that was dropped, Superman Legacy. This is being written by James Gunn, and it's being prefaced that it's not an origin story, but it's still taking place during Superman's and Clark Kent's early years as Superman and Clark Kent. And we already got a release date. We got July 11th, 2025. I mean, seeing how the year 2025 is going to go out, we got the Batman sequel, we got Superman, we got the Fantastic Four movie coming out, and I think Kang Dynasty comes out that year too.
It does.
Stacked year for comic book movies. What are you looking forward for the Superman movie?
I'll say I did get to read a little synopsis. It's in his early years, he's getting used to Kryptonian and Earth life, and I was okay, Man of Steel, that isn't that the premise of Man of Steel? I was but okay. I mean, I like Man of Steel, so if we're gonna get essentially a new one, I guess it sounds like they're trying to. I keep seeing, James Gunn was reading All-Star Superman. I keep seeing the All-Star Superman cover.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like he's going to maybe take inspiration from that. And if he does, that's great. I 100% want that. So I'm really excited for that. I think the title of the movie makes me question Superman Legacy. So is it honoring the legacy of Superman in the movies or in the comics? I'm assuming the comics. So I'm really excited. I hope they take inspiration from All-Star Superman, which it seems like they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully they don't kill him off, in the first movie. That'll be something else. But yeah, All-Star Superman, we talked about it the last episode. It's one of the most phenomenal Superman stories out there. It really embodies the character of Superman. And if we get some...
When I say like take inspiration, I don't really mean like the story beats. I guess just kind of really like the essence of Superman in that comic and how he's portrayed. Like that's what I mean when I say taking inspiration from it. I don't think they'll follow any story beats from I'll still Superman. I don't think they should.
It'd be cool if Superman visits Bizarro World. That'd be very interesting.
I hope we get this all.
But yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I'm really like iffy on like who they're gonna cast as Superman because I forgot what the actor's name was, but there's a very popular choice of this one. I forgot what his actor's name was. But it was a popular choice for him to be Superman, and I just don't see it. But that's what it. I'm just really skeptical. I'm like same thing with Batman. See like who they cast because these are like the most iconic characters of like all time, and like, people are gonna either way. People are gonna hate whoever they cast because there's gonna be that toxic group of people who say like that's not my Superman. Henry Cavill is still my Superman. And in my opinion, Henry Cavill is my Superman, but I'm gonna accept whoever is the Superman, and I'm going to hopefully enjoy their portrayal as Superman. I'm not gonna try to draw comparisons from both, but I'm open to anything. And yeah,
agreed.
All right. Next up, we got Lanterns, a Green Lantern HBO Max series. It will star Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart. Basically, I think they're gonna be on Earth for most of the time, which might be an issue because a lot of people obviously Green Lantern's intergalactic police force, but having the setting on Earth, maybe that's for the good thing because like they want like a bigger budget for like all like the space like epicness that comes with Green Lantern. But it does say that there are going to be other lanterns peppered in throughout the series, so I'm excited to see who pops up. My bet is Kilowog is going to pop up in some way or fashion, I hope. And apparently it's going to be kind of like True Detective.
I saw that.
It's going to be, I mean, I haven't seen True Detective, but I did see clips from the show, reviews. Great show. So I'm interested to see that, definitely, especially if it draws inspiration or has the same feel as True Detective. And lastly, apparently throughout the series, or maybe at the end of the series, they're going to discover a scary mystery that will tie into the largest story of the DCU. So they're probably going to plant the seeds of something that will grow into something like probably Darkseid or someone, the Anti-Monitor, who knows. But apparently they're going to plant the seeds of the big bad for DCU and the Lanterns. So I just want to hear what your opinion is about the series from what you heard so far.
That last thing you said makes me, and I haven't even read it, and I know they should adapt it, is Jeff Johns' Green Lantern run. I probably would have already read it, but I don't like the way the omnibuses are mapped, so I just haven't. I didn't buy them, and I haven't read them yet. But I know that story is epic, and that would be interesting if they kind of take that. Like I said, I haven't read it, but I have a feeling it's great, and that could almost be like the Infinity Saga for the chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter whatever. But I'm really glad. My main thing is I'm really glad that it's focusing on all the lanterns. Like it's not just like Green Lantern Hal Jordan or you know it's focusing. It's called Lanterns. I think that's the main highlight and the main thing I'm excited about because the Green Lantern core is just so cool, and I'm so glad they're focusing on the core over just one of the Green Lanterns.
Yeah, I agree, and I mean. When you ever say your favorite, like for example, if you say your favorite Green Lantern, like my favorite superhero is Green Lantern, you have to say okay, which Green Lantern? Because there's just so many iconic Green Lanterns. Like I know a lot of people who grew up in the early 2000s, their Green Lantern is Jon Stewart because if they probably watched like the Justice League animated series and that was the Green Lantern, Jon Stewart. Or if you're like more like an older head, like Hal Jordan, Kyle Rayner, Guy Gardner, Kilowog, like. There's like a whole branch of like different lanterns and like having them either alluded to cameo in the Lantern series is really good, refreshing, not only seeing only one singular lantern because there's like a whole core of them essentially.
Yeah. and then the
So-
Red Lanterns, Yellow Lanterns, all the
Exactly.
that has the potential. I kind of hope that's the anchor of the first couple chapters. I don't know, MCU has phases, but they also have the Infinity Saga, the Multiverse Saga. I hope like the first saga is kind of anchored on the Lanterns. That's one of my main hopes.
I hope so too, because they're like very underrated, in my opinion at least. They're well overdue a proper live action adaptation.
Yeah, we can forget the other one. Even Ryan Reynolds wants to forget that one. So.
Yeah. Up next, I was very surprised when they announced it because when I saw this, I only read 2 issues, maybe 3 issues of this series, but I remember loving it. I don't know why I just dropped it, but I got to pick it up now, especially after this announcement. It's The Authority.
Okay, yeah, I know nothing about this, so I'm all ears here.
So take it with a grain of salt because I barely know who these guys are essentially, but they're kind of just like the Justice League, but more like tough. Like they're more more jaded, essentially, more like coarse. Essentially, they're from this imprint from DC called Wildstorm, and synopsis is, or like a brief like description of like the group of characters is, they think the world is broken and they want to fix it by any means necessary. So it sounds like they are able to go to great length to fix whatever they seem that feel like that's broken. From what I've briefly read, they're more brutal, I guess, compared to the Justice League. And they do a lot of like interdimensional travel, essentially, which is interesting. I might be wrong on that, so if anyone wants to correct me, please feel free to do. But they do travel like between like I think realms, dimensions, realities, whatever, a lot. So it'll be interesting to see them in live action form. James Gunn did say that they will be interacting with a bunch of DC characters. So that'll be interesting to say. With that, is there anything that you are curious about the Authority, or do you think that you're going to pick up like the comic and see what they're about?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of my favorite things about comic book movies is they get me to try out, comics of the characters or the group or whatever. So that'll be something that, when the movie's getting ready to come out or when the trailer drops, I'm sure we'll both pick it up, read it, see what it's like. So yeah, I mean, I love reading new stuff, so I'll definitely check it out. I know nothing about them, so it's exciting.
Yeah. I know there's some like fan favorite characters in the Authority, and I think one of them has the Apollo and someone else. I forget what their name was. Midnight, something like that. They have their own series, so they're popular. That's basically all I know about it. Very little grains of sand, but it does seem interesting, and they are an interesting group of characters.
Yeah, for sure.
Up next, this one interests me a bit. It's called Paradise Lost. Basically,
I saw this. Yeah,
about the Amazons, the story about Paradise Island, aka Themyscira. And the thing that really grabbed me the most about this was the fact that James Gunn compared the essence of it to like Westeros and Game of Thrones.
Is it animated or is it live action?
I'm gonna say it's live action. I could be wrong. I didn't hear anything if it was animated. But my guess is like it might be like live action. That's my guess at least. Anyway, I think it is gonna be an HBO Max series, but it's all like more if it's animated or live action. Have you ever read or seen the Game of Thrones?
Oh, Game of Thrones. I've never read it, but I've watched all of it. Watched all of House of Dragon. So.
Oh, okay, cool. What do you think about it?
I mean, we can talk about the ending all day, but I mean, I love Game of Thrones. Like I love Game of Thrones. Love it.
I'm reading the first book right now. I'm reading Song of Ice and Fire right now. It's great. I saw the first season of Game of Thrones. I loved it, but I just never picked it up because I know how it ends, and I just don't want to watch like that series and be like, "This is like the greatest thing ever," and then like have to rewatch season 8 and be like, "Wow, that's terrible."
I always tell people that regardless of what you think of the end, it's worth watching because I think it's just the best show probably ever.
Gotcha.
The ending hurts it, but even with that, it's that great. That's the Paradise Lost sounds interesting though. I kind of hope it's like a world building show of Themyscira. That'd be really interesting.
I hope so too. And I mean, just like the concept of like the Amazons and like the lore behind how the Amazons were created in and of itself is worthy of a live action adaptation because they went briefly over it in the first Wonder Woman movie. It sounds very interesting. I want to see that in live action, especially if it's Game of Thrones-esque. I do remember seeing like an episode of House of the Dragon, and I was like, it was like episode like 3. I was like at a random because I was at a friend's house, and like I was like, I want to watch this because it's serious. I got to pay attention to it, and I just want to chill, watch something funny. But then like they put it on, and I was like completely hooked. Like, it was episode 3. I was like, oh my god, this is great! I had no idea what's going on, but it was great.
So it's so damn good. Get ready for incest, but it's awesome. It's so good.
Yeah, I might definitely have to check that out.
Yeah.
But up next, another big little shell dropped is Batman, titled "Brave and the Bold." So
let's go, dude. I'm pumped.
This is exciting. This is very exciting because not only is a new Batman movie, but we also will get Damian Wayne.
I'm so pumped about that.
So
pumped.
Obviously, we've already gotten a Robin. Terrible.
Terrible. I don't even count it.
Yeah,
doesn't count.
And I love how they're taking the route of Grant Morrison's run for inspiration for the Batman because I haven't read it yet. I do have the omnibus for it, at least Volume 1. But I hear it's like a great Batman run, like top 5 Batman runs out there. I definitely want to check it out. It's also said it's gonna be like a father-son movie. Like they're trying to, Batman is Batman and Damian is Damian, or he was raised by the League of Assassins. He kills. He's like an assassin kid, but with Batman, no killing, like nothing like that. So it's kind of, I'm interested to see the balance between those two. I did see like Batman, the Bad Blood, and Batman versus Robin, the animated movies. I thought they were decent. I like the dynamic between the two characters, and I'm really interested in seeing that play out in the big screen. And we also getting the introduction of the Bat family, it seems, because I think Damian's like the 4th, 5th Robin, something like that. So it's interesting how they're starting a new Batman series with like the 5th Robin. So it begs the question: Is Red Robin still already out there? Is Nightwing already a thing? So hopefully
that's I don't know. It's that I'm so pumped because, like you said, that Robin does not count. I've been, and I mean, I think a lot of people have been asking for the Bat family in live action.
Yeah.
It seemed Christopher Reeves hinted at it at the very beginning of the Batman with the little kid and I was like, are we going to get Robin? But yeah. At least in this interpretation, we're finally getting some of the Bat family. I read and put down Grant Morrison's Batman. His Batman is really, really unique. It pulls a lot from like the past. He kind of like asked the question of like, what if all of everything Batman like is canon and happened to him? And it pulls back from a lot. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to come back to this when I can appreciate it a little bit more. But I have a feeling this is going to be awesome. This announcement alone made me be like, okay, I think James Gunn's he's going to do good.
Yeah,
because of this.
Definitely. And like what you said about like how the Grant Morrison's Batman run pulls a lot from the past. He likes to pull like a lot of like super, super like weird and obscure like parts of like certain characters' lore, and like they implement it in like the run. Like I know like Zur and Raw Batman, that's like a super like bizarre like alternate personality of Batman. So weird, but it's so weird, but like it's like cool. It's like it's interesting.
I
given
agree.
like why he has that personality like locked in his mind or whatever. And
I was reading it and I was like, I'm not at a high enough comic level to read this yet. I gotta level up with my comic knowledge, and
yeah,
I'll come back to this when I can fully grasp it.
yeah, that was me with
So I think that's gonna be
yeah, it's gonna be great. Like
with what?
Final Crisis, like one like the DC event, Final Crisis. I picked it up like, what is going on? I have no idea what's going on.
Dude.
And I lightly watched YouTube videos and I pulls from like a lot of like past like
Yeah, dude.
deep lore. I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna read this once I'm comfortable to understand everything. So I get where you're coming from,
Dude. Last year we were talking about like our top reads of 2022. I had not Final Crisis. Crisis on Infinite Earths. I read that last year for the first time, and then I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna read Infinite Crisis," because I was like, I want to read all the events and I was reading it and I was like, "Whoa!" I was like, "Never mind. I'll come back to this. There is a lot going on that I'm not ready for." So I bought the trade, but I put it right back on the shelf. I was like, I'll come back to you at some point, but it's gonna be a minute."
And I wonder if they're gonna go that route of like Final Crisis, like as like the big like Infinity War Endgame level like threat, because it'll be interesting to see.
I hope so.
But obviously, there's some like obscure aspects of the comic books that I don't think would translate well on screen, especially with what was it? There's a part where a page where it says Darkseid fell on reality itself. I feel like that's something that's like, people are going to say like what?
Yeah,
so,
dude.
what do you mean it falls on reality itself? Like I don't understand what he's trying to say.
Yeah, there's some of the stuff in comics. I just live action. I don't know if it'll ever translate, but I hope they do. This is kind of a long shot hope, but that was another reason I wanted to reboot, because what if they did like when I was reading Crisis on Infinite Earths, I was like, what if the DCEU was rebooted and then, they visit one of these other Earths and it's the Snyderverse, It's like Henry Cavill and that would be crazy. And they have to team up with the old DCEU to go against the Anti-Monitor. And I mean, that's
idea.
that would be.
Like, it would make people happy too, and like, because I hear people saying like they want like the Snyderverse to be like the Kingdom Come universe. How like when like Henry Cavill comes back, hypothetically speaking, as Superman, is because he's wearing like the Kingdom Come outfit, and like basically the storyline of Kingdom Come happens within the Snyderverse. Honestly, I don't know if that's actually going to happen because there's already a plan set in stone with like the Justice League movie, so who knows? But it'll be interesting to see like if they do go that route and like visit the Snyderverse and like team up together and like try and like to defeat Darkseid or the Anti-Monitor. I feel like that would be a pretty awesome
it'd be so cool
collision. Yeah, it'd be cool.
I was reading it and thinking that I was like, what if they did this in the movies? It'd be awesome.
Yeah, that is a really good idea, I do have to say.
Dang.
All right. So next up, this was kind of speculated early on, and it's finally been confirmed. We're getting I think it's a Booster Gold HBO Max series, if I'm not mistaken.
I think TV show.
Do you know anything about Booster Gold?
I know a little bit about Booster Gold. I've never read like a series of his, but I know somewhat about him. I know him as a character a little bit. I think this is a genius. I love this. Like, this is probably Batman's my favorite thing that was announced. This might be number 2 over Superman. Like, I think this is perfect for like a new DCU.
So my first introduction to like Booster Gold was Justice League Unlimited, essentially.
Yeah.
I think it was cool. I think there was like a whole like 1-2 episode arc of just him, which I thought was interesting. I read 52. There was like a storyline that focused on Booster Gold, which I thought was really interesting. And just like the whole aspect of the character, how he's from the future and he goes back in time to current like continuity or the current timeline and tries to make a name for himself say like, I'm like this greatest hero, but then like the way he does it is like super unethical. He like basically hires people to like, it kind of reminds me of like Saul Goodman from Breaking Bad. Oh, like he kind of like just like manipulates people or like pays people to do something, and then he goes to the rescue, and like he's perceived as like the big hero. And it said that he's the loser of the future, which makes sense given the given the character. And honestly, I don't really know. Like I said, I don't know that much about the character. But I am excited to read some of his comic books. I know he had one called Gold and Blue, his Blue Beetle and not Gold Beetle, Booster Gold and Blue Beetle. So that's another thing.
That'll be a good one to read for sure.
I question that, like if like the original Ted Cord Blue Beetle will be in Booster Gold in like some capacity, either like maybe throughout the series or just like at the end, because they're both like best friends. So like they have like a super strong bromance, and having something with Booster Gold but without Ted Cord Blue Beetle would be something kind of like off essentially. So I do hope that that he does make an appearance. But from what I saw of Booster Gold and from what I read of very little, I am very much looking forward to this title.
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot, but I think he's a really unique character, and you need a character like him that isn't very known, but could just be really great in live action to really make this like brand new reboot successful. I think you need new characters that the public doesn't know that well, but once they like meet him, they're gonna be like, oh, like this is awesome,
right?
And I think, I think he can be that. So I'm really excited to see that TV show.
Me too. Up next, which is something that I'm pretty excited for because I just heard, not just heard, but I recently learned about this comic book, and that was an award-winning, one of like the best comic books of this character, and that is Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. This is based on Tom King's little graphic novel short story run on Supergirl, and I heard like a lot of great things on that run, and just having that super recent comic already being considered an live movie adaptations is very interesting. It makes me want to like check out like the book even more, because I hear a lot of people saying like this is like a phenomenal book. The artwork, the writing is like it's fantastic. Tom King does like his best in this story, so it makes me want to read it. And a little brief synopsis is that obviously we have Clark Kent escaping Krypton when he was a baby. He's already shot out of the capsule and goes into space, goes to Earth as a baby. Doesn't witness anything. But apparently for Supergirl and Superman, as in Supergirl's perspective, she's like already a teenager, I think, and she sees everything. Essentially, she sees like the destruction of her world. She sees her people dying. Same thing with Clark. She gets shot out to space, goes to Earth. So that's interesting too, because she's more like, it says that she's more jaded after seeing all that. She's more like tense and like, fearful. Yeah. She literally witnessed the extinction of her people. I am interested to see if they go the Brainiac route of like the destruction of Krypton, because I know that's like a very common reason why Krypton was destroyed is because of Brainiac. So I hope maybe we get some Brainiac in that story in some capacity, whether it's like just like Krypton, Superman lore, or just like a tease of him being a villain. But have you ever read anything of Batgirl, or what do you know about not Batgirl, Supergirl?
That came out, and I recently had read The Vision, and I didn't like it. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I'm just going to stay away from him for a while.
Right.
I think a really good adaptation that I've seen of Supergirl is in Injustice 2. I don't know if you played that, but
oh yeah, definitely.
I don't know a whole lot about her. Like, I don't know. I've always just been Superman. But I think just like the Bat Family, Superman has such a great, like, what do we call him? The Super Family?
I think so,
I was recently reading the new Action Comics run where Superman is off Earth, and just like I also hope this is kind of off subject, but I also hope we get more of like the Super Family, and we were already getting Supergirl, and maybe through this show or it's a movie, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's a movie.
Maybe through this movie we meet more of them. I'm really confident this is going to be great. So
yeah, definitely. And
even though I said I don't like Tom King, or I had a bad experience with the Vision, I think having a comic writer, no matter if I'm a fan of them or not, on a movie, because I think he's going to be on the movie, is what I read.
Yeah,
I think that's
so.
always a good thing. I think that's always a good thing. I hope he is involved with the movie. I think that would help its odds to be good.
Definitely. And we're already getting a look at Supergirl in the Flash movie, because she's already slated to be in the Flash movie.
Is it the same actress?
That's what I'm thinking. Like, if they're keeping the same actress that's portraying Supergirl in that movie to be in the Supergirl movie, I'm not sure. Again, we haven't seen. I think her name is Sasha Kaye, something like that. We haven't seen her play Supergirl, so if she gets recasted, fine. If she stays, fine.
Yeah.
I guess, because that's also like the same thing, because like she still has like an emblem similar to like Cavill's emblem, essentially, for like the Flash movie. So that's kind of like treading on thin ice, or like walking on eggshells, because you still have like the essence of Cavill's Superman on her like suit, because it obviously draws inspiration from Cavill's suit. So I mean, who knows if they're keeping her, or probably just got revamped like the suit or whatever. But I guess again, we'll just have to wait and see for more answers, because with these announcements, like per announcement, like 5 new questions that's spring out, saying like what's going on. I agree. Yes. So
more questions
we just have to wait and see. Exactly. And the last thing that was announced was a Swamp Thing horror movie.
Horror? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's gonna be, as said, it's gonna be a very dark horror movie. Obviously, we already had a Swamp Thing, very brief Swamp Thing series that came out on HBO Max. That only lasted 1 season. I still heard great things about that. I did not see it. I only saw the first episode, and then I don't know why, but I saw the first episode, and I was like, I kind of didn't really find interest in it, but I heard like a lot of people loved it. It was like super great, and people got really upset when it got canceled. But at least we're getting a more Swamp Thing in this very dark horror movie. Have you ever read any Swamp Thing?
No, there's that one run that everyone talks about. Who is it, by Alan Moore?
Yeah.
That I've been interested in, but I heard this might lead to Justice League Dark, which sounds pretty awesome to me. I haven't ever read it. I've read Savage Avengers a little bit, and I think they're somewhat similar. All the movies that's been announced, I think, are like perfect. The TV shows I'm a little more like on the fence with, but Swamp Thing's a movie, Supergirl, Batman, and Superman. I mean, I think they've killed it with the movie slate. So I'm excited for all of them.
Yeah, me too. And again, there's still more to be announced. So hopefully there's like, I don't know. Given how like this is like only like a part of the slate for Chapter 1 of the DCU, what are some movies you hope James Gunn announces, or what are like some of your speculations on what might be announced in like the later half when he does announce the rest?
I really hope like I was saying earlier, I like a lot of the DCU castings, but except for the Flash. It's not even really because of Ezra Miller as a person. I really don't care. I just don't like his Flash. So I really hope we get Wally West. We need Wally West. Let's do that. So that's my main hope, is a Wally West Flash movie.
Yeah, because like I remember I read both Wally West Flash and Barry Allen Flash. by miles. I think Wally West is like someone like I feel like he's a better character not only like in like the comics but like the DC not DC but Justice League animated series. I think he was great in the Justice League animated series, and I just find Wally West more of an interesting character, more of a character that like I can grow to. Well, with like Barry Allen, I read the first volume of the DC Rebirth run by Joshua Williamson, I think. I didn't like it that much because I just thought that like I just thought Barry Allen was like super like whiny and just like saying I in my personal opinion, I hate when characters say we had to do this by the books, we had to do it right when like there's like a mass murdering villain out there. And like you have to do it like by the books. It has to be done right to show like the system works. So obviously the system's not working if this man's still out there murdering people and it escapes whatever institution they're locked up in 30 times. Obviously the system's not working. But like I don't know. I didn't like that run. I didn't like the Barry Allen that was in there. Maybe I could. What? Oh, did I say Batman?
I said Batman when you were saying.
Oh yeah. Oh
the system's
yeah.
not working.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like Batman's like, I like Batman, and I think he's a cool character. He has great stories, but it's like there comes to a point where like it's not that I want him to kill like the Joker, for example, but like he prevents other people from killing the Joker, and like I'm just like just let it happen. Yeah. The worst, nothing's bad.
The guy's gotta die, man.
Exactly. You can't keep defending this guy. Like you just can't. But yeah, but like I read Jeff Johns' run on the Flash, Wally West. I thought it was great. So I agree with you. I really want a Wally West live action appearance, movie, show, whatever it might be. But I just want him to be like the main Flash, essentially. Did you have any other like wants?
Yeah, I think. I think the Teen Titans could be really cool down the line.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that should be the focus in the chapter 1 or 2. That would probably be more of a way down the line thing. I think that could happen. Yeah, I mean, I haven't got to think about it a whole lot, but my main thought was Wally West. It's not even that I like Barry Allen fine. I think he's a great Flash or whatever, but as far as like live action and all that, it seems like we've only ever seen Barry Allen. They keep talking about Barry Allen, and it's like, well, there's another Flash who's just as popular and I think has better comics than Barry Allen. So that was just my main thought. I think the Teen Titans could be really cool, but I don't know if it should be the focus right now.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, because like,
I mean,
with like the Teen Titans, like it's a lot of characters. There's the Starfire, there's Beast Boy, Robin. I think it was Dick Grayson Robin. Who else? Cyborg, Raven. Those and sometimes Wonder Girl. That's like characters that you kind of want to build up with, and the Teen Titans is beloved by a lot of people, especially with like the early 2000s animated series. I haven't watched it, but I did see like the Trouble in Tokyo movie of the Teen Titans. I loved it. I thought it was great. I'm currently reading George Perez and Mark Wolfman's run on the new Teen Titans, and I'm loving it so far. But yeah, I feel like they should have like already like some seeds sprinkled in before they were actually fully introduced into like what people want them to be, essentially. For me, there's only one thing.
But we're good now. We're good.
Okay, cool. For me, I really want a New Gods movie, or like at least like a Mr. Miracle series or movie, preferably a series, because kind of like with like Super Girl One Tomorrow, I want them to adapt Tom King's Mr. Miracle run in some way or fashion live action, because I think it's a phenomenal run. If you're new to like the New Gods, I think it's a great place to start off with, because you're focused on one of like the more prolific characters in the New Gods, while also getting a taste of like the other like entities within like the fourth world, essentially. And ideally, the way I would want like a New Gods Mr. Miracle movie or series to be done is basically not really focus the themes of it being a superhero movie, but I just wanted to focus and be structured as like a war movie, because every so often, like, because there's Apocalypse, New Genesis, and they orbit the same like star celestial body thing, and whenever they get close to each other, they engage in like war essentially. So I kind of want to see like more of like the war aspects between Apocalypse and New Genesis with like, these like characters like Orion, Mr. Miracle, Big Barda, Light Ray, Granny Goodness, Darkseid, Desaad, all these different characters like fighting a war. And I just think that like that's something that would be done if done very well, will be very successful. And obviously, if James Gunn's hearing this, I'm open for auditions to play a Mr. Miracle or Orion. Happily to do so.
Yeah, especially if they're going to set up Darkseid, that would be really cool. A really cool way to kind of start that up. Now that I'm just thinking more, I think a really cool TV series would be a Deathstroke, Slade Wilson. That would be pretty awesome to see.
Yeah.
And then maybe if the Teen Titans come in, he could play into that in the future. He could play in the future of the Batman. That would be, I think he'd be a really great TV show, because I don't want to use the word anti-hero, but he's a mercenary and usually plays the villain role, but it would be interesting if you got to know him before he plays the villain. So it's almost like you don't know who to root for because you like Slade, because Slade, it's hard to root against him, at least, after reading some of his comics. I love Deathstroke, and that would be really cool to like get some villain stuff before they're villains. And then it's like, I don't know, I don't know who to.
Right. Yeah, I agree, because like he's like a super popular DC character. He has multiple runs, just like full length runs. I know there was Deathstroke the Terminator run, there was a New 52 run, there's the current run, and I think I don't know if there are separate runs or the same run, but there's Deathstroke Inc. He's just like super popular.
Yeah, I read the most recent. They had Deathstroke Year One in Deathstroke Inc. Recently. I read that, really great. I've read some of Christopher Priest's run, really great. Actually, I didn't like it at first, but through rereading it a couple times, it's really started to grow on me a lot. But he's also got his own kind of family, that they could expand. Super family, Deathstroke family, Bat family. I want it all. I want all the the families. But
right,
yeah. I mean, there's just so much that untapped potential for
definitely
this new DCU that they can delve into, because we really saw so little in the DCU, like as far as DC's properties. So this is all really exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm really excited, especially with like, because it's also said that like they're both going to do PG-13 properties as well as rated R properties, and that's something that I really appreciate about DC. How they're not afraid to like dip their toes into more like mature, violent content, depending on like the character. Because honestly, with Marvel, they want everything kid friendly, everything family friendly, all that type of stuff. They're just now starting to do like more mature stuff. I know like the Marvel Zombies is getting a TV MA rating, and just stuff like that. But like I know DC, obviously they're not afraid to delve into more darker territories with different characters, and I appreciate how not only are they making live action movies and TV shows, but they're also obviously making animated movies and TV shows, as well as video. James Gunn said they're going to put some video games out there that will tie into the DCU, which is interesting because I don't see. I don't know how I feel about that, because like to spend like $60-$70 on a game just to understand like what's going on, it's kind of like off-putting. Like I would understand.
Shows up in a movie. and you don't know them because you didn't pay $70 to play their video game.
Yeah. Or watch like a 45-hour long walkthrough of like the game they're based from. So like, I feel like if they just did like a comic book, like they would like pull stuff from the comics, or like did their own like kind of like what DC does with like Black Label, how like that's like its own separate entity that do like anthology series or like different characters. They have like their own like separate like thing where like it's like the DCU essentially, and just have like different runs if necessary for like different properties. You just pick them up, read them, and once you read them, it ties into like whatever TV show or movie is being led up to. I feel like that's more accessible. But still with video games, we don't know how good the quality of these video games are going to be because they take a long time to be made, and there's like so
video
much
games take forever. Yeah,
there's so much into it, and like obviously you being a Twitch streamer, how do you feel about like this like video game aspect being tied into like the DCU?
That's complicated. I mean, that's like you said. I mean, video games take a long time to develop, a very long time. And then there can be delays, stuff like that. I know there's a Wonder Woman game in development right now. But if they're gonna tie it into the DCU, I think it should be very loosely. It shouldn't be anything major. It should just be, I can't think of an example, but just very, very loose. You don't have to see it. It won't play a major part in anything. Maybe they'll do like a little nod to it in a movie or something, but just like an offhanded one-liner remark about a character from the game or something. But I don't think there should be anything major in a video game because not everyone loves playing video games, or some people have genres that they prefer, and if it isn't in the genre, I don't think that's fair to them to be like, go pay $70 if you want to know what happens in the next DCU.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what you said about like delays, that's like a big issue because if a game's delayed, then you're gonna have to delay like everything else because you want everything to fit nice and perfectly in there, and like it's like everything's like unpredictable. Like you don't know like what happened during production, like anything could happen essentially. And just having a video game, like a movie being delayed is one thing, but a video game being delayed is a whole different aspect because again, it takes a really long time to develop a video game, and especially a longer time to develop a quality, well-written, organized, structured, visually appealing video game. So,
yeah, it's going to be a story-based game. It's just there's a lot that goes into it. I like the idea of it. I think, like I said, if they do it where it's loosely tied into it, I think that would be really cool because it would be like, you're playing a game that's in a larger universe, which would feel really cool. But as long as it's not like a major tie, I think that would be great. I think that'd be a big win.
Absolutely. Hopefully they don't do like any like when they talk about video games, it's gonna be like mobile games or anything like that.
Oh my god. DC Snap. I love Marvel Snap, but imagine they made a DC Snap game. They said it's canon.
Whatever you play is canon.
Yeah.
Oh man. But again, we just gotta wait and see what they do. Because even though this all sounds great, we still have a lot of questions that are left unanswered, a lot of concerns. But from what we got so far, I'm very excited. A lot of these announcements makes me want to read more of like the comic aspects. Like for example, I want to read like Jeff Johns' Green Lantern. I haven't read Jeff Johns' Green Lantern run. The only thing I read from Jeff Johns that's based on Green Lantern was Blackest Night. But I heard lots of great things about the whole run in and of itself, and it makes me want to read it even more.
I want to read so
more.
bad.
I know, and like Booster Gold, we can put that on the wheel if you want.
Yes, because that's
like all of these.
I definitely read that digitally. Like I said, I don't like the mapping, so I want to read it regardless. Digitally is fine for me, so that'd be awesome.
I mean, like with all these, we got more content to put into the to the wheel. So, and let's apply right here. But yeah, it makes me want to read it more and hop on the podcast, discuss it in depth, and like see like what aspects of the comic book they're gonna pull and implement to like the movies. Like what you like, for example, Superman. Obviously, they're not gonna go the route of like Superman's dying. But they're gonna pull the aspect of like the character of Superman, like how he's portrayed in that story, and translate that to live action, which I think would be beautifully done, especially from like All-Star Superman.
Yeah.
With that being said, that was everything announced. That was our speculation, what we want, our thoughts about it. Before we sign off, is there anything that you want to add that was not already mentioned?
I just want to know what are you most looking forward to that was announced? What are you the most excited for?
The most excited for? Oh man, you put me on a spot right here. I think. Damn.
If you could see one of these right now, if you could watch it, go into the future and watch it, what would you pick?
I would go with the lanterns.
Okay, I like that choice.
Because like obviously like I would love to see all the other properties. But with like lanterns, just Green Lantern live action has been done such a disservice, and I love the whole lore and like because it feels like the Green Lantern Corps and their like lore is like a separate entity from like the DC. It's kind of like what people say about the X-Men. How like the X-Men feel separate from like Marvel comics because they have so much history and lore that like if they were their own like single thing, it would work perfectly fine. And it's just a lot of like stuff that I would love to see live action, especially like Hal Jordan, Jon Stewart, and all the rest of the Green Lantern Corps, especially with like the essence being like True Detective.
Yeah, that's going to be really interesting.
It just, I don't know, that kind of just like grasped me a lot. And I thought that'll be my choice, honestly. I posed a question to you now. Which one, even though I can probably already guess what it might be, what are you going to choose amongst all of them if you had a choice to go in the future and choose one to watch?
I will say I thought Booster Gold was my number 2, but you've convinced me Lanterns is my number 2. So I will right there. You convinced me. I'm second most excited for Lanterns. Definitely first is The Brave and the Bold. When I saw Damian Wayne, I was like, dude, finally, dude, like finally, like we in my eyes have never had a Robin. We haven't. We're not going to talk about the Robin that we've had because he doesn't exist. Like we're just due a good Batman and Robin movie. Yeah, I just wanted Bat Family live action, and we're getting it. So that's the reason I'm excited, and that's that's really it. Yeah. Like I'm just so pumped to see some of the Bat Family in live action. Superman Legacy, I want it to be my number 1, but there's a lot of questions. Like we know next to nothing. Like with Batman and the Bold, we know Damian Wayne's going to be in it. With Lanterns, we've got somewhat of an idea. With Superman Legacy, it's just such a question mark. So I don't know where to rank my excitement. I'm obviously glad we're getting Superman, but I don't know. We'll see.
Right. I guess we will see. But that concludes today's episode of the podcast. Let us know what you guys are excited for. Which properties are you more excited for? Which properties are you least excited for? And what you guys predict will be announced in the future. Definitely check us out on Twitter and Instagram at Comics Around the World, and on Twitter, Comics RTW. Same thing on TikTok, Comics RTW.
We made a TikTok.
Find you?
Woody307 TTV is the Twitter. I don't even know my TikTok. I just kind of, I watch the For You page. I watch your TikToks. I don't really post too much, so no reason to even shout it out, but my Twitch is Woody307.
Awesome. And you guys can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and on TikTok at Orion Scott Comics. And with that being said, stay tuned for the next episode. And next episode, we're going to be talking about Kang the Conqueror. We each are going to be reading 2 comic books that we selected for ourselves, and then reading 1 comic book that we both read and discussed that amongst all like the Kang hype that's been surrounding Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, and the future of the MCU. So until then, see you guys later, and keep reading comics. All right.
Peace.